So India have ended 2022 when it comes to test matches on a high. Although they had to fight and scrap hard for the win in Mirpur, they finally managed to win the series 2-0, and by 3 wickets, India have ended their overseas cycle of this edition of the World Test Championship on the ultimate high. Remember, India lost to South Africa 2-1. In England, it was 2-2. Now in Bangladesh, they have won it 2-0. So in effect, the 3 losses that have come for India in this World Test Championship cycle have all come in overseas events. If you look at home, they won 1-0 against New Zealand with that 1 draw in Kanpur. Then they defeated Sri Lanka 2-0, and now their final series is going to be against Australia on February-March 2023, which will be 4 tests. So looking at the current percentage point system in the World Test Championship cycle, Australia are sitting pretty with 76.92 and have all but assured themselves of a spot in the final because they won against South Africa in Brisbane. So they have 6 tests to go, and whether they win or lose the series against South Africa will determine whether they go through into the final. India, on the other hand, remain in second position with 58.93 percentage points with 4 tests to go. South Africa, on the other hand, 54.55 with 4 tests to go. They are in a bit of trouble because they needed to win 3-0 against Australia. That has not happened. Now, if they win or draw the series against Australia, their percentage points will be hammered. The dark horse and the outside contender to scupper all 3 teams' plan is Sri Lanka. If Sri Lanka wins 2 tests against New Zealand, then India and South Africa, along with Australia to a certain extent, will be very worried. If New Zealand beats Sri Lanka in 1 test, then Sri Lanka are automatically out of contention for the World Test Championship. So, Australia, India and South Africa, these 3 teams are still in the fray. Australia and India most likely are playing the World Test Championship final because what must India do for qualifying for the World Test Championship final? They simply have to avoid a series loss to Australia. And why is that? Because South Africa have not yet announced their 2 tests against West Indies. When is that? Depending on that, their fortunes will hinge. Ensure Australia win the series versus South Africa. If they win it 2-0, if they win it 2-1, Australia would have ensured that the percentage points dent that they give to South Africa, that will put them further in the race. And avoiding a series loss at home to Australia will ensure that they automatically go past 60 percentage points, which is necessary in this cycle to ensure they qualify. What about Australia? Simple. If they win against South Africa, the series, if it's 2-0 or 3-0, then even if they lose 0-4 to India, it still will not make a difference because if they win versus South Africa, series loss versus India will not be impacted. However, in order to ensure that other results, they don't have to rely on other results, ensure they lose 3-0 or 2-0. 2 draws are also fine. So if Australia win the series against South Africa and if they whitewash them 3-0, even if they lose 0-4 and other results also go against them, they will still qualify for the World Test Championship playoff. Because they have acquired such a cushion of 76.92, there is a gap of 18 percentage points between the next. So they can afford 2 losses at max, 2 or 3 losses at max. But more than that, they will have to rely on other results. South Africa though, they now face a big situation. They have to win all 4 games versus Australia and West Indies. They have to ensure that South Africa will have to ensure that they win 4 against Australia and the West Indies and hope India loses to Australia. If Australia win 2-1 or 2-0 or 3-1 or 3-0, or even if 1-0 happens, then South Africa still have a chance. No draws. If South Africa draw or lose, they are out of contention for the final. So now basically it is looking more likely that India versus Australia will be in the World Test Championship final on June 7th at the Oval. But remember, there is a different dynamic into that, because all the Indian players and most of the Australian players will be coming fresh of the IPL. Which team will hold their nerve in that World Test Championship final? That remains to be seen. So now we basically have only 4 series which are of importance. The ongoing Australia-South Africa series, India versus Australia, South Africa versus West Indies, and to a certain extent, if other results don't go their way, then New Zealand, Sri Lanka is also very, very important. Remember, New Zealand, Sri Lanka and South Africa, West Indies will happen in March. India, Australia will happen in February, March. This series, Australia, South Africa, will end by January 2023. So 3 teams still in the fray, although Australia and India looking as the favorites, because they are playing, Australia is playing 2 tests at home, India are playing 4 at home, South Africa are playing only 2 at home against the West Indies. Thank you so much, people, for joining us for this live. We'll be back with more updates from Sports Today. Press the like, comment and share button. We are also there on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Thank you.